You wake up but feel emptiness inside? Jung explains what comes next. Hello, my dear ones. I want to share with you what lives within me and what may already be living in your heart. I am a woman who has stepped onto the path of inner awakening, and I want to share with you one particularly subtle and important part of this journey. When awakening occurs, what many call a spiritual opening, it seems as if light, fire, and new inspiration lie ahead. But behind what is called awakening, a strange emptiness often appears, as if the old landmarks have receded and the new ones have not yet manifested. Suddenly, you realize that the motivation you were used to has slipped away, and you stand in silence, unsure of where to go next. Today, I want to accompany you in this silence to tell you what it might mean and how you can comfortably inhabit a space where you don't yet know who you will become. Let's start from the moment when everything still seemed familiar. The goals I was pursuing, to achieve, to succeed, to do something meaningful in the eyes of others. They were part of my landmarks. They gave me energy. I lived by expectations, both my own and others. I made plans, completed tasks, pushed myself. But at some point, an inner feeling began to whisper, "This isn't quite right. This is too borrowed, too imposed." I began to see that many of my ambitions were reflections not of my true self, but of projections, from somewhere outside, from expectations, from other voices, from social programs. Gradually, the outlines of a space that could no longer be ignored emerged. And this led me to awakening, not as a bright epiphany or triumph, but as a dismantling of what was false, inauthentic, and imposed. Awakening is not an instant transformation into light. It often comes through disintegration, through the dissolution of supports. And when I look back, I realize everything that once seemed solid began to wobble. Old dreams, old goals, old meanings, they stopped being significant to me. And then came the moment when I could no longer follow the old path, when striving no longer gave me energy, when every morning I felt as if the spark that once pushed me forward no longer appeared. Everything became somehow paler, more transparent, less tangible. I realized that motivation disappears not because I became weaker. It disappeared because the old engine, at the center of which were expectations and ego illusions, began to give way. The motivators that once carried me through life no longer aligned with my inner state. If we interpret Jung's ideas, we could say, you are not losing drive, you are outgrowing the fuel that once powered you. You have stepped beyond the edge of old motivation, where goals, ambitions, and desires, everything born from expectations, begins to feel empty. You do not become lazy, you become slightly detached. You stop chasing something and begin to sense the intermediate space. This space is not an abyss. It is a gap bending between the old and the not yet manifested. Jung called this transition the in-between, when the ego is weakened but not yet integrated into something whole. It is precisely in this silence that many feel motivation has left them. But in reality, it simply no longer works according to the old rules. When I say emptiness, I don't mean the absence of sensation or the absence of everything. It is a shifting space where previous forms no longer live and new ones have not yet appeared. Emptiness is like a blank sheet on which no drawing has yet been made, but which already holds potential. It is like the space between an inhale and an exhale. It is an invitation to inner creativity, to a new improvisation of the soul. When motivation recedes, familiar goals disappear, and you feel that old meanings have lost weight. This can be frightening. Where do I go? What should I do? But it is possible to learn to live with these questions without panic, allowing this interval to work within you as a laboratory of possibilities. I often remind myself of Jung's words about individuation, the path to becoming a whole self through the integration of conscious and unconscious aspects. In this silence, the unconscious gains more space. It can bring forth images, meanings, symbols that were previously suppressed. This part has already been waiting. It longs to be heard. But in a world that values movement and achievement, this state is often disguised as laziness. Yet the explanation is deeper. This is not a renunciation of life, it is a rethinking of life. When the ego dissolves, habitual motivators no longer work. You find yourself in a space where motivation is no longer what it used to be. You learn to listen to the quiet voice within, not the voice of ambition, but the voice of the heart. And this voice does not demand acceleration, it gently guides through resonance. I want to share the steps I tried and the supports that helped me, not as prescriptions, but as friendly suggestions. Step 1. Accepting the silence as part of the path. Allow yourself to be where you are, unhurried. Don't blame yourself for the absence of the former drive. Don't compare yourself to previous versions. Tell yourself, I am in transition. I am not required to know everything yet. In this silence, something new may emerge if you befriend it rather than resist it. Step 2. Slow self-observation. Notice how your body, emotions, and thoughts respond. When you feel tired, listen, don't push. When a faint whisper of inspiration arises, don't rush to act, simply allow it to unfold. Step 3. Symbolic life. Jung spoke of symbols emerging from the depths of the unconscious. Dreams, images, intuitions, metaphors. Give yourself time to write, draw, converse with the image. Sometimes new meaning appears not in logic, but in symbol, through image, metaphor, a small impulse. Allow your inner language to emerge. Step 4. Small responsive actions. Start not with big projects, but with what subtly resonates. Call a friend, go for a walk, write a few lines, savor a cup of tea. These small responses are like seeds. Gradually, they can grow if you don't force them with willpower, but allow them to develop naturally. Step 5. Return to the body and nature. When the mind is empty, the body can be an anchor. Breathing, walking, hugging trees, forest silence. These simple sensory experiences bring you here and now, not to the old level of motivation, but to presence. This gives soil to the soul, waiting to be reborn in a new form. Step 6. Patience and self-compassion. This is one of the most important steps. Transition lasts differently for everyone. There are days without answers, without movement, moments of doubt, fatigue, alienation. You must learn to be with yourself in these moments as with a dear companion. I imagine holding my own hand, soothing the inner voice that wants everything immediately. I say, wait with me. I am not in a rush. I am listening. Often people perceive this interval as a dead end, but I want to tell you, it is not the end of the path. It is an important pause. A space from which the real I can emerge, not the past me, not the others me, but the pure me, undistorted by others' expectations. From a Jungian perspective, this is the moment when the ego weakens, when old structures collapse, but the new has not yet formed. This moment is not a void of aimlessness, but the birth of something new within. If you do not run from this space, if you do not fall into old routines, it will begin to transform. Drafts of new meanings, impulses, though not yet full projects, soul responses will appear. Gradually, you will sense movement, but no longer from ambition, no longer from must, but from what resonates in your heart. Motivation will return, but it will be different, quiet, calm, not demanding proof. It will help you live in resonance, not in a race. I recently read that awakened motivation is not doing more, but being more. It is a shift from aggressive achievement to gentle presence. Sometimes an inner surge appears suddenly like a spark. You begin noticing faint responses. I want to write. I want to share. I want to create. But this is no longer from the need to prove, but from the desire to respond to the world in your new rhythm. Imagine deep in a spring forest, when seeds hidden in the winter soil slowly begin to sprout. They do not rush to the sun, they simply grow. At first, almost imperceptibly. But nature knows its own pace. You are like that small green sprout growing in your silence, and one day you notice you begin to act, but no longer as before. Your actions are like breathing, like resonance. You begin movement not for results, but from presence. Perhaps you will start journaling, drawing, connecting with nature. Perhaps you will speak not of must, but of what resonates. And in these small responses, your new meaning will emerge. Jung believed individuation is the path leading to the expression of the self through integration of unconscious parts. It is not the path of external achievements, but the path of inner wholeness. Let me write you and myself a letter as a reflection of this phase and forward. Dear one, you are now in the in-between, in a blurred, unstable point. You feel that old landmarks have gone and the new ones are not yet visible. This is natural. Do not demand from yourself the former brightness, the former flame. Your soul asks for silence, attention, and gentleness. Give yourself permission to be slow, stretching the space. Listen to yourself, even if the voice is quiet. Do not reject the days without inspiration. They are part of the process. You are not lost. You are restructuring. Trust the small responses your heart feels. They are seeds of your future self. And I am with you in this silence, supporting you, understanding you, accepting you. This letter is not a magical means of instant solution. It is an act of presence, an act of acceptance. And sometimes such letters, such conversations with oneself are enough to hold on, to give oneself space. I want to offer you a few phrases you can repeat, inside yourself or aloud, when being in the in-between feels too heavy. I am in the in-between. I am not required to know everything now. My heart remembers the way, even if the mind gets lost. I accept myself in silence. Let what is not yet manifested prepare to emerge. I trust life and a practice. Each evening, before sleep, recalling your day, ask yourself, what resonated inside me today? Where was warmth? Where was lightness? Where tension? How could I respond to myself tomorrow? The main thing, do not push, do not demand, do not force. Trust what is already happening inside you, already creating, even if you do not see results. I speak to you today not from the peak, but from depth. I speak from moments when it was hard, when there were no words, when I wanted to run away. And I speak because I know this space can be traversed, this space can be surrounded with care. I believe that when you are gentle with yourself in the in-between, your soul will begin to speak. Its voice may be quiet, but true, and that voice will become your guide. I believe that motivation will return, but as part of your centered self, not as an external engine. It will come as resonance, not as a demand. I believe that you are not lost, you are in reboot. And I want you to know you are not alone in this. Many on the path of awakening go through this in-between space. They ask questions, remain in silence, listen, endure, open up. Thousands of souls are in this same space right now. Many have already gone through it. They remember, I thought it was the end. But it was a threshold. I want to whisper to you, trust the threshold. It is no more frightening than being the old you. It simply is a transition. I am grateful to you for receiving this message, this rustling fabric of words. Perhaps you are somewhere on this path now. Perhaps you did not yet know that this is part of awakening, that motivation can temporarily leave, that silence is not refusal. Let this word be like a gentle torch in the night, not a bright spotlight, but a soft glow to help you step, not through compulsion, but through resonance. I remain with you in this silence, and when you are ready, we will step across the threshold together, slowly, attentively, from within. Thank you for being here. Thank you to your soul for trusting, even when everything seems uncertain. Thank you to yourself for giving yourself the space to be in the in-between. And in this in-between, we are already not alone.